We're back here on the program Jones and Company, speaking with Paul Major today. And even though there has been some criticism of the Junkanoo Carnival coming up, we can ill afford not to do it, right?
Precisely.
We have to do something such.
Got to do something. And like it says, there's no point in trying to expand something where you're doing it in the peak of your tourist season. We don't have one empty room November, December, January. Not one empty room. But yet, so that's what, 6,000, 7,000 hotel rooms full?
Yes.
You figure at least 2 to a room, so you're talking 12, 13,000 people in the Bahamas, and you could tell me we can't never made an effort to try and get a couple of thousand of them on the parade route. You see a trickle of them. Sometimes a lot of us have a whole booth nearby where flowers would be. They can't even fill that.
Yes.
So, you know, where are we going? And again, back to this thing about history and Christopher Columbus, Goree Island, which is right off the west coast of Africa, that was the transshipment point before they put him on the boat to send him to the New World, so to speak.
That is a tourist attraction.
That's a tourist attraction, Wendell. You go there, tears came to my eyes, my wife would tell you, but you think they're denying that part of their history? They get $110 off me to walk through there. So why are we ashamed of Christopher Columbus? The Germans ain't ashamed of Hitler. They making money off that. And the concentration camps, they still there. And they making money off them.
There's some things in your history that you cannot deny.
No, and you make, you know, and when you describe it, you don't have to, you can say there's a dark period of our history. But it's history, and people want to hear history.
Yes, yes. Paul Major, I wish you well, you and your entire commission, well as you seek to develop this Junkanoo Carnival in the Bahamas, because, as you said, it's an addition to the product that we have, or it enhances the tourism product.
That's the intention.
The economy of the Bahamas, you've been a person who has followed economic trends for the last 40 years or so. How are we doing?
Struggling.
Still struggling.
Still struggling.
How long is this struggle going to be?
Who knows? I thought we would have been out of it last year, but it's more prolonged than most people predict.
It's a protracted
recession. Yeah. But there are signs of recovery, albeit slow, very slow. I believe that the opening of Bahama is going to definitely cause a resurgence. There's no question about that, because once you put 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 people to work, automatically you've got a lot of economic spin-off from that. And just that payroll alone is going to put a lot of money in the economy. Now, what we need to make sure of is that there are persons in that hotel and not somebody operating off an overdraft to meet payroll, because that'll be very short-lived. But if they can fill or operate at acceptable rates of occupancy, my friend, that is enough to stimulate this economy. No question about that.
Along with that, though, we are going to have some challenges. The government of the Bahamas is very concerned about being downgraded. We all are. Moody's, Standard & Poor's, all of the international agencies like the IMF, they are keeping a watchful eye on the Bahamas and how we are performing. The economy of the Bahamas, though, is not growing sufficiently to soak up or to take up some of the unemployment that we have. Unemployment is still very high in the Bahamas. In terms of economic growth, we need to do better than 1%, Paul Major. We have only been doing 1% in the last year or two. What percentage of growth do we need so that we would see an appreciable improvement in the economy?
Well, in ordinary times, Vandal, 2% growth is acceptable. Let's be realistic about that. The United States economy don't grow more than 2% in most years. Every now and then they have a blip, 3, 4%. But 2% is not a bad growth rate if you could sustain it. double-digit unemployment is bad anywhere, anytime, and that's where we are, double-digit unemployment. We have a very low tax environment, which means that our deficits will continue to grow unless we arrest that problem. Unfortunately, at long last, the government is starting to address that problem. But we have to change course with respect to tax. The tax rate in Canada is almost 60%. The tax rate in the US is almost 30%. The tax rate here, we still saying we're a tax haven, but we know we pay duties and what have you else, but it still is low because you can make decisions whether or not you pay tax by how you consume. In places like the US, they take it out your pocket before you get to spend it. As soon as your employer pay you, they take it, then you get the rest. So all I'm saying is that there are still a number of things that can happen in the Bahamas in terms of better collection of its taxes, the introduction of more effective taxes, manipulation of interest rates, which will have a tremendous impact on just borrowing in general, an incentive to save or incentive to invest, more importantly, because that is where you get your growth, because your growth is really your GDP, which is a function of your total goods and services produced in the economy. So if you reduce the rates, people are disincentivized to save, and they're more incentivized to invest. And if they invest, they employ people, so your unemployment comes down, you got more economic activity, so you got your GDP growing, and that's really where you want to go. The more the economy expands, the more taxes the government collect, the more they could reduce the debt, and the more they could improve the roads and improve the rest of our infrastructure. So we just got to be realistic about a lot of things. We are so averse to any kind of change, even when the change makes sense. It's almost like every medicine for us is bitter. And until you realize that it's doing the body good, then you say, oh, well, okay. But think about it. Goodman's Bay, we had objections to. The fish fry, we had objections to. Sanders Beach improvement, we had objections to. The road works, which now everybody bragging about, Wendell, toppled the whole government. Now everybody say, boy, if we only know it's going to be this good, you could get from Sanders Beach now to the Cowpen Road in about 2 minutes.
That's an exaggeration, but I understand.
Well, it ain't far.
Yeah.
I mean, if you make it 60 miles an hour, which you should be making, but I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yes.
So all I'm saying is, we don't stop to think, what is the long-range impact of what we're doing?
Yeah. That is coming upon us, and that is January 1. There's been some complaint that the government is not doing enough to educate the population on the introduction of VAT. Is VAT, in your mind, going to have a dampening effect on the overall performance of the economy?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think in the short term, I think people are going to kind of take a wait-and-see attitude. But I think, again, it's by coincidence more than anything else, Bahamas should roll on stream around the time VAT is being introduced. So there should be a natural upsurge in imports. Somebody got to bring in the food. Somebody got to bring in the bed. Somebody got to bring in everything to supply that hotel and to sustain the staff in there. So that in itself, you can't cut back. You know, Bahamas Food Service can sell more meat. Del Benis can sell more rice. And they got all the labels. Uncle Ben and Mahatma, they got them. Yeah. So I'm saying that things are going to happen automatically that are going to cause people to spend more, which will cause the government to collect more via VAT. And VAT is not a perfect taxation system. I don't think there's any perfect taxation system. But it is one that I believe, in the considered view of most people, that it is probably the best approach for us at this time.
We're flat out of time. I wish I had more time to talk about the economy in a general way. You've been very kind to come here today. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you so very much.
Always a pleasure, Wendell.
Pleasure to have you here today. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for watching and listening to our program today. Good evening, everyone.